Should be good to go, Mr. Chairman.
Also,
One thing I just forgot to bring up the slideshow. Apologize.
notice some people's mics still look muted.
What I have is.
I would just ask everyone to press your mic if it's red in front of you one time, turn it green because the auto is not working.
And then I cannot. Okay.
Okay, we're all set, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to call Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, December 13th, 2023 to order. You stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maureen, could you please do the roll call?
Noreen, if you're there, you're currently on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Commissioner Claffey,
Excused?
Commissioner Minor,
Here.
Commissioner Nafis,
Here.
Commissioner Payne,
Excused?
Commissioner Pascarelli. Here. Commissioner Sobieski,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Droz,
Here.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Here.
You're all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like to substitute for Commissioner Claffey, Commissioner Drone, and I'd also like to substitute Commissioner Hoffman for Commissioner Claffey. Next will be the approval of the agenda, Mr. Planner.
Yep, so I'll note that the agenda is the same as published. When I read the public hearing notice in prior to the public hearing section, just for information, that the petition for 202 Deming Street, petition 2623, was published in the public hearing, but it was actually pulled from the agenda. The applicant requested an extension and consented to extension of time to submit all of their paperwork.
Thank you. Any public participation?
Hi, I'm Stuart Calais. Good to see you. I just want to, I see a lot of Dunkin' Donut signs here, so I suppose you're bringing your petition before the board. I just want to say I support that. I'm glad to see that, he's getting help as a small business person. It seems like the previous town planner moved heaven and earth to make things happen here, changing industrial to, can you hear me now? Okay, is this on? Anyway, if it's working, it's good to support the small business people, and it looks like the town planner before Paul here bent over backwards, making the town center now able to have a drive-through, which was prohibited in the past. And they'd gone to great lengths to make sure that that didn't happen, and now it is happening. And over in Newington Junction, where Stanley lives, this Phillips 66 was rezoned, moving mountains, to enable a drive-through there for a different Dunkin' Donuts guy, I think, but it never really materialized, but it did pass. So at least you're moving in the forward of celebrating and helping the small business along some very tedious rules that have been set up, and I could probably cite others. But I'm here also as an abutter to the cemetery. I follow all the rules as a doctor and as a person, and I've sent some of you, many of you have changed, but I sent a note to each of you outlining the rules of the cemetery. I guess, the sexton is Bill DeMayo. And when he first came, he broke rules by just throwing away everyone's personal items. And when he got on the hot seat for that, he made amends by following the rules of ordinances, saying, you have to get your items out of here by a certain time. In fact, he puts it 3 times now. So he follows those ordinances regarding the conduct of the cemetery. However, he is not at all following conduct in that he's disrespecting the solemnity of the cemetery. It says no person shall ever disfigure, deface, destroy, move, turf, or fence. Go over by the blue memorial building. He's done that for his own convenience. He's removed cemetery dirt and soil, disturbed the lawn and areas around people's cemeteries, and he's essentially made a new entrance and exit to the cemetery, and that just cannot happen. And I know there's a lot of political force here. I spoke to Eric about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. I went to the police. I was told to go to the police because somebody's breaking the ordinances, and so they sent me to Eric, and then Eric passed it on to Chapman, and then Chapman buried it by leaving my complaint on his desk till he resigned. So I now make my appeal here because this is really the appropriate place for ordinances to be followed. And I'm not at all, I have no remorse coming here. I'm standing up for the people who are respectfully buried there. And I see what goes on in the cemetery, and I'd like to just respectfully follow the ordinances. And I know that the new town manager, after Chapman, he's listens to the Republican attorney and says, well, it's just not going to happen. So, the people from the cemetery, the descendants of that cemetery will be coming and coming boldly because we will follow the ordinances in that cemetery. That's why there are rules that Mr. Sermon set up in 1977. And they have to be respected no matter how inconvenient it is for Mr. DeMayo. And he's called me the enemy in the past. I went with my office manager and he called me the enemy for speaking up. And I'm vocal. I stand on what I stand, and I believe in what I stand. People respect me, I think, for that. But I can't be prejudiced for speaking up. And I speak up to you, and I'll speak up to the town manager because he is now following the ordinances. So, I will make sure that these descendants are heard and that their graves are respected, and that sanctuary remains. So, whether you decide on that tonight, I just hope that Eric in the future, that since I am a local resident, that you will speak to me and tell me what's happening to my complaint. I mean, it just sat on Chapman's desk for months until he finally left. And so now we have a new beginning, a new team, a new Democratic leadership. I hope that everyone follows these ordinances. I'm way over 3 minutes, but I respect that you listen to me because it means a lot to me and all the people. Many of my patients end up in that cemetery and they come and complain to me like, hey, who's building this? Who's doing this? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Keller.
Okay. I don't know if this thing works, but
I can put that back.
yeah. Right.
We do have a couple people online with their hands raised as well. If you want to address, go back and forth, however you want to do it.
Yeah, let's take somebody online. Yeah.
Rose, go ahead if you're there.
I was waiting for the cue, please unmute, but I didn't get it. So anyway, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I think I'm going to just have to hire an Uber driver to bring me up to Town Hall. I got onto the YouTube, tried to get on NCTV, and they weren't on right away. But in any case, I just want to say welcome to the new members. I'm glad to see some familiar faces at the table, so that I don't have to go through the Rose Lions training period because they're all well too familiar with me, but I'm glad to see that you're all there, and I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with what's coming into town. And I don't know whether this is the proper time or not to address this, and if it's not, just shut me up and I will be quiet about it until the public hearing on the cannabis dispensary. I just want to ask the commission if they can, once this hearing is held, that they could look into whether or not you can cap the number of dispensaries and cultivating places for marijuana. I think that probably that's something that you would have to do with your regulations, but people have been talking about it, and I'm not for or against, but I think it's something that you might want to consider. Again, welcome back to those that are back, and welcome to the new members. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the next year or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Still have people
Anyone wish-
online or anybody in the room, so.
Sorry?
There's still people online if you want to go back and forth.
Yeah, we're gonna go back and forth. That's it. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jan Kritzman. I live at 91 Tremont Street here in Newington for, I don't know, 45 or 50 years. And I'm going to tell you all a secret, but please don't tell my doctor. I drink between 6 and 10 cups of coffee a day. Sometimes I have it intravenous into my leg if I'm sitting at a table like this. So I'm very much in favor of petition 2723, which would be a drive-through also in the old Sovereign Bank building,
Mr.
right as you
Chairman.
come into town. Excuse me?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Chairman, just for point of order, if it's testimony on the thing.
This is first stuff not on the agenda right now, Jan.
Oh, I thought the gentleman that spoke here before me spoke about this
I-
also.
Yeah, he spoke on a couple things, but
Uh-huh.
the agenda.
I'd like to just finish really quickly and then get on. Is that okay?
I would prefer to have you follow rules, okay? Come back when we call the petition, please.
I thought this was, I'm sorry. Sure.
That's all right. This is public participation on other
Wait.
things that are not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
All right. Derek?
Mr. Trister, if you'd like to go ahead and speak. See you're online.
John Trister, 81 Woodland Street. I just wanted to pop in and congratulate all the new members on their appointments and congratulate all the new officers and particularly welcome back to Chairman Sobieski. I'm thrilled that you were all there and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Congratulations, everyone. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Not my town, I'll tell you that right off the start. My name is Bill Garrity, 190 Tomlinson Avenue, Plainville, Connecticut. I'm speaking as the original speaker did, the doctor, I'm sorry. I got an email, I got a letter sent to me because my grandparents are buried in that cemetery right where that fence is, right where that new gate is. I went there yesterday. I went there this morning. It was a hell of a day for me today. I was trying to get everything caught up and I wanted to have a written testimony and everything. And I just did not have the opportunity. But I'm also very concerned over the fact that, you know, it's been 20 years and I did not go back and visit my grandparents. So it's been a rough day. I don't understand how someone could go ahead and desecrate a cemetery like that. And I don't know because I'm, again, late to the party here, but I'm his last living relative, you know. I got brothers, but this is upsetting to me. It doesn't look like this was done by a private company or anything else. It was did the town have a hand in this? Because it's been cut. I mean, the cut through is for public high school, correct? I mean, so did the town have a hand in doing this?
This is the first time I'm hearing about it, so I don't know. Eric?
My understanding is it was done as part of a parks operation.
So the town actually approved and did this. I mean, I hate to ask, were bodies moved? I mean, this is painful for me.
I understand.
Mr. DeMayo is the sexton, I believe, for the cemetery, falls under their purview. They don't have to get any kind of approvals through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Unfortunately, what Eric is saying is true. That falls.
Does the high school?
I'm sorry?
Does the high school? I mean, is it
Either, I don't believe. No.
Board of Education?
Sorry?
Would that be the Board of Education?
I guess so. I'm not sure. To be honest with you, Board of Education and Parks Department, Mr. DeMayo.
My understanding is that Dr. Kelly has also spoken before the Parks and Recreation Board.
Okay.
A number of meetings on the same issue.
Right. So I would ask you to please contact them or the mayor and the town council. That's where that would lie, not here, unfortunately.
Planning and zoning. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, trying to figure out how it goes.
Zoning deals with buildings and rezoning of sections. Okay. And what you're talking about is a different operation under Parks and Rec, which operates the cemetery, which Mr. DeMayo is the section.
I believe he's the sexton or one of his underlings is the sexton, yes.
So that we have nothing to say about that cemetery.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm just, again,
Right.
I was there this morning. There are headstones or grave sites that have been moved. To me, it looks like they've been moved a heck of a lot closer together than they had been
Right.
when I was there when my grandparents were buried. So again, I'm asking if anybody knows if bodies were moved, headstones were moved, and if there is a vehicle that is driving over bodies, driving over remains, this is upsetting.
I understand that. I would be upset too. I'm trying to help you out here, but what I would do is I would get a hold of the mayor, the town council, okay? And make an appointment, go up and talk to them, and Mr. DeMayo, he runs that cemetery. We don't have anything to say about it, unfortunately.
Okay, many of you people look like you've been around for a little bit of time. I just want to say I'm speaking for Rita H. and William G. Bevan, 139 Audubon Avenue.
Okay.
Which unfortunately, not too long ago, looked like it burned down. I drove by it the other day and everything in Newington for my family is gone, it seems.
Right.
So.
BEVAN, 7, BEVAN.
BEVAN. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
There. Mr. Fox, you'd like to go ahead and speak? You there, Mike?
Hi, it's Rose Lyons. It's not Mike, so try again to get Mike.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Bye. That's all right. Bye-bye.
Go ahead, Mike. If you're there.
I'm here. You there?
We are here. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Eric. Michael J. Fox, 1901 Main Street in town. And I just wanted to, say hello to you guys since I've been put out to pasture. It's good to see some old faces there and Stanley back. Actually, I didn't mean it as a joke. I've been put out to pasture. But as you probably figured, I'll be keeping tabs on you, and I'm sure you guys will do a good job. A lot of things were done since some of you guys have been on there. But you got Steve to carry you along and the two Republicans. And so I'm sure you do quite well. I will be probably speaking to you about public hearings and some more public participation. Anyway, be well, guys. I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Anything else for the public wishes to speak here? Eric, we have more on.
There's no one else online, Mr. Chairman.
Next would be the zoning officer's report, please. Eric?
You all have it in your packets. If you have any questions, feel free.
there any questions about the zoning officer's report?
The only other thing I would like to bring up, Mr. Chairman, is the discussion about the cemetery stuff. It is an ordinance. It is not a zoning ordinance, which zoning or TBC would enforce. So it's at the, you know, whoever the town manager wants to appoint to enforce those particular ordinances would fall there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just add that it was added to, it was actually on the last zoning officer's report. The complaint was received and the information there was decided that it did get forwarded on, of course, to the responsible parties.
All right, thank you. All right. CEO report for November 23rd, PDF file, or is that?
No, we're transitioning off of what we used to do. So this is the report now, the end report. We are working on tweaking that as well.
All right.
But it has all the items that came up in November, whether they were open, closed, or whatever. So
Very good. Remarks by commissioners. Okay. Mr. Planner will do the first public hearing.
Yep, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the notice that was published in the paper. So Newington Town Plan and Zoning Commission amended notice of public hearing December 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Notice is hereby given that the Newington Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing in Council Chambers Room 103 at Town Hall, 200 Garfield Street, Newington, Connecticut, on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, to consider the following petitions. Petition 2823, zoning regulation text amendment pertaining to family childcare homes and group childcare homes as a permitted use accessory to a residence in a zone permitting either single, two-family, or multifamily uses. Add section 3.1.5, amend section 3.2.8, remove and add 9.2 definition. Applicant Newington TPZ, contact Paul Dixon. Petition 2623, special permit to convert a pre-1920 single-family residential dwelling at 202 Deming Street into 2 residential units in the R20 zone. Applicant owner Salvatore J. Visconti Jr. and Paula J. Visconti. Contact Paula J. Visconti to notice that was the one that was moved to be heard at a later date. Petition 2723, special permit, section 3.13.0 and 3.13.7. And site plan for a restaurant with an accessory drive-through at 79 East Cedar Street, AKA 63 through 79 East Cedar Street in the BTC zone, Business Town Center Zone, and Town Center Village Overlay District. Applicant Cedar Street LLC, owner Newington Sovereign Bank Plaza LLC, contact Carrie Gagnon. And then petition 2923, special permit, section 6.16, for a cannabis hybrid retailer at 2661 Berlin Turnpike, AKA 2657 to 2661 Berlin Turnpike in the BT zone, Business Berlin Turnpike Zone. Applicant Chillax LLC, owner 2661 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC, contact Michelle Bowden Esquire. This public hearing will be a Zoom webinar hybrid meeting. Information on how to attend will be posted on the town website at https://www.newingtonct.gov/virtual meeting schedule. These petitions and related materials are available for public inspection at the town planner's office, Town Hall, room 204, and through the published agenda at the Town Plan and Zoning Commission Agenda Center. It has the web address for that. Persons who require an accommodation to participate in this public hearing should contact the town planner at 860-665-8578 or townplanner@newingtonct.gov, not less than 24 hours before the public hearing. Submitted Paul Dixon, town planner, and it ran in the legal ad at the Rare Reminder, November 30th and December 7th.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll hear a petition 2823, right?
Yes. Do you want to
Okay.
bring that up?
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition?
we got to listen to this.
Yep.
Paul go first.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So on this one, this is the, I am the applicant. So this text amendment, again, what it does is Eric's going to bring it up. There is Public Act 23-142. As part of that public act, it required that all family childcare homes and group childcare homes be permitted as no different than a single family residence. And it prohibited requiring special permits. A review of our zoning regulations revealed that our zoning regulations did require special permits for those uses, even in a single family or multifamily dwelling. So what this regulation does is it adds section 3.15, which Eric will bring up, which adds 3.15 family child care home or group child care home accessory to a residence in a zone permitting either single family, two family, or multifamily uses. And the requirements are no announcement sign shall be permitted exceeding 2 square feet in area. And 2, all such uses shall be approved by the State of Connecticut Office of Early Childhood prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. Again, so this is moving it to uses permitted in all zones. It's then qualified by saying accessory to a residence in a zone permitting single, two-family, or multifamily. That makes it consistent on how we would treat those uses. And then the requirements there's nothing different than we would do for a single-family dwelling. The next section, 3.2 and 3.2.8, it just revises. You can actually see it up. You can zoom it in. It's in your packet. It revises it again to group childcare homes not located in a residence, because you can have a group childcare home, which are smaller in size. They're not the full childcare center, but you can have them in commercial districts. You can have them in other districts. So this would be, again, special permit because it's not in a home. It could be in an industrial, commercial. It could be some area like that, and that is within the purview of the commission and appropriate to view additional adjacent uses. What it does there is it just strikes the section F from if the proposed location of such use is an existing 1 or 2 family detached dwelling, the follow applies. So it's just striking that section that specifically talked about 1 or 2 family uses and requiring a special permit for that. And the last item it does is there was a definition for daycare center. It was stricken that definition for daycare center and just incorporated a daycare related terms. So what this does is it points it to the state statute. So as the state statute evolves on these uses, it won't require an update of the Newington regulations to say, so say the state says, oh, 6, now we're at 7, we're at that. That would require us to update ours every time, a change happens. This ties it to the state statutes, what those definitions are, and it kind of pulls it all together. So that is the proposed text amendment.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for this petition? Anyone wishing to speak against it? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, starting with you, I'd like to leave it open.
Okay.
On our next meeting, just to give the public an opportunity in case they do want to come forward. I mean, there's no urgency, is there?
The state did ask for them all to be pretty much, we did have to report to the state regarding kind of the status of it. The ideal was to get it done prior to the end of the year. It was brought up at the last meeting, presented on October 25th to the TPZ, and there was no issue with it. It was recommended to go forward. Again, that is completely the purview of the commission.
Internally,
I
I
don't
don't
see
believe
a
we've received
big
any
issue with
phone
it.
calls. We haven't received any calls.
Nothing.
No, haven't received any calls or comments on it.
Old business.
We need a motion to move this.
Well, actually, it is an old business already, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of the standard of the way our,
Now,
so yeah, the motion, and we can change
make a
that.
motion to close the public hearing. That's what you need a motion for.
Yes.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And opposed, move it to old business. All right. Next petition, Mr. Planner.
So the next petition is petition 2723, special permit, section 3.13 and 3.13.7, and site plan for a restaurant with an accessory drive-through at 79 East Cedar Street.
Okay.
Come on up, gentlemen and ladies. So I just asked them to come up. Just so you know, I haven't done this in a long time, but I think it's really good opportunity. So thank you for having me. Commissioner, board members. Gary. Name and address. Gary Gagnon, it's been a while. 66 Cedar Street, Suite 300B, Newington, Connecticut. 06111. Better? Thank you. So what we're proposing is, I guess, it is a building. There was a drive-through dry cleaner, and then there was a drive-through bank. And we've had a few different requests and different things to meet with the criteria that we want as far as queuing for a drive-through and as far as landscaping. And so I think there was like over 40 things that we discussed, and I think we've met every single one of them. So we're trying to, at this point, it is zoned for special exception, so we're here asking for that special exception so we can open a Dunkin' Donuts store there. I will open up for questions from the board, or would you like us to?
You want to present?
Would you like us to present?
I think we should probably give.
Chairman, my
them a heads up
recommendation
what's
is that.
Traffic.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Hesketh. I'm a licensed engineer, state of Connecticut, the firm of F.A. Hesketh and Associates. Our office is in East Granby, Connecticut. With us tonight, you just heard from Carrie Gagnon, and Brian McLeany is here from Allen Bongiovanni's Incorporated. His office drew the site plans, and my office prepared the traffic impact report for this development.
My apologies, and Mr. Chairman, if I may interject, we did receive updated plans on Monday. The applicant has just handed me the updated plans. Would you like those distributed to the commission?
Do you want it first, just because? Let me get there.
Thank you.
Okay, so in any event, we're here for a special permit and a site plan approval for the conversion of the existing or former bank building to a Dunkin' restaurant with a drive-through window. As Commission might be aware, the site's located 79 East Cedar Street, which is the intersection of East Cedar Street, which is Connecticut Route 175, and Constance Lee Drive in downtown. Up on the screen right now is the existing conditions plan, which is sheet 1-8, which is part of the application package. It shows the site under consideration. The building on the right-hand side or the east side of the site is the bank building, which we're converting to a Dunkin' restaurant. The building on the left side is a retail plaza, which has a number of individual tenants. The bank building is about 2,160 square feet. The adjacent retail is about 4,100 square feet. The overall site has approximately 40 parking spaces, and the site has access at 2 driveways, which both interconnect to the internal site driveway to Constitution Square. Our original application, which was presented, or the original plan, which was presented is sheet 1-1, which is not in your package, but we have a copy of it up on the screen, if we can get that up. Basically, the original site plan, they were proposing to reoccupy the building, add a dumpster location on the southeast corner of the site, do a minor change to one of the interior islands on the north side of the site where the drive-through lane exits. And basically, the plan was just to reoccupy the site. That was the initial site plan. Through town comments and staff comments, and meeting with staff and going through a number of questions, comments, concerns, the revised site plan, which is before you this evening, which is presented on sheet 3 of 8 as part of the package. And I believe we have a colored rendering plan, which can be shown up on the board. So after consultation with staff, a number of revisions were made. The revision, due to queuing concerns, we revised the site access. Currently, the existing site has an enter and exit drive on the eastern portion of the site and an exit, I believe it's an exit only drive on the western portion of the site. Due to queuing concerns from the drive-through window for the Dunkin' facility, we switched the access to the site. We're going to be widening the westerly site driveway to make that a enter and exit driveway. We're going to be narrowing the eastern driveway and making that an exit only driveway from the site. We've relocated the proposed dumpster from the southeast corner of the site to the westerly portion of the site. We provided angled parking on the south side of the Dunkin' building, the existing bank building. Those spaces are angled because we're proposing one-way access around the building in that location. And those parking spaces will be designated for employee parking so that there won't be a lot of traffic into and out of those parking spaces during peak hours operating of the facility, because the drive-through queue will be located in that area to reduce, that'll help us reduce conflicts. We propose some internal pavement markings at the internal intersection. We're proposing that driveway to be stop sign controlled on the eastbound and southbound approach. We're marking the intersection itself with do not block the box type markings. And that's in the event that the queuing from the drive-through window extends past the existing building. We don't want it to block the existing, the internal intersection, but there's sufficient queuing west of that, west of the intersection to accommodate additional vehicles in the drive-through queue during those morning peak hour rushes. And when we switched the driveway configuration to have exiting traffic only in this location, with the do not block the box, it allows exiting traffic from the drive-through window to exit without being blocked, and avoids the possibility of entering vehicles, joining the queue and backing out into the Constitution Square driveway. So the relocation of the driveway provided additional queuing spaces. This plan also provides additional Dunkin' signing, directional signing throughout the site. You can see there's drive-through pavement markings on the pavement to direct people to the right location. And this plan also provides an increase in landscaping around the northeast corner of Cedar Street and Constance Lee Drive. That's the site plan in a nutshell. Again, Brian McLeany is here from Allen Mangiavani Inc., and he'll be happy to take up any specific questions in terms of the site plan if the commission so has. Turning to the traffic impact report, our office did prepare a traffic impact report, which was dated October 18th, and we provided supplemental information on November 16th in response to town comments. In the course of preparing our report, we researched the files of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. The DOT had traffic volume counts on Cedar Street, Route 175, and on Constance Lee Drive. Those counts were taken during January of 22 for Route 175 and during October 21 on Constance Lee Drive. According to the ConnDOT counts, East Cedar Street has approximately 18,600 vehicles on a daily basis. The morning peak hour of about 1,400 vehicles, an afternoon peak hour of about 1,500 vehicles, just to the west of Constance Lee Drive. Constance Lee Drive itself has 3,600 vehicles on a daily basis. with a morning peak hour of 200 vehicles and an afternoon peak hour of 433 vehicles across the site frontage. In addition to the conduct counts, our office conducted manual turning movement counts at the intersection, the signalized intersection. Those counts were conducted in early October for the morning and Saturday peak hour periods, as those will be the hours where the proposed facility has the highest trip generation. We used the conduct counts and the manual turning movement counts. We applied a 1% per year growth rate to a design year of 2025 to project the background traffic volumes for the area. In terms of trip generation, we reviewed the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Report. That's a standard engineering reference, which allows engineers and planners to estimate the traffic volumes at proposed facilities based on traffic volume counts at existing facilities throughout the country. We used that ITE report to generate the traffic volumes for the former bank and for the proposed Dunkin' restaurant. The former bank has a trip generation of about 21 trips during the morning peak hour, 45 trips during the afternoon peak hour, and approximately 57 trips during the Saturday peak hour. The proposed Dunkin' restaurant is projected to have about 207 trips during the morning peak hour, 91 trips during the afternoon peak hour, and 190 trips during the Saturday peak hour, which represents increases of about 186 trips, 46 trips, and 133 trips respectively. We had distributed that traffic to the local roadway network. The assumption that 75% of the traffic would be oriented to and from Cedar Street. 15% we determined might travel through Constitution Square. And 5% of the traffic we projected to Constance Lee Drive and 5% to Hawley Street on the opposite side of the intersection. We added that traffic to the background traffic volumes to get the the combined traffic volumes upon completion of this development, should the commission so approve. And then we conducted capacity analysis calculations at the signalized intersection, at the intersection of Constance Lee Drive and the Constitution Square driveway, and at the site driveways themselves. The results of that analysis were presented in Table 4 of the report. And the results indicate that during the morning peak hour, the signalized intersection operates at an overall level of service B during the morning peak hour, and during a level of service A during the Saturday peak hour under background conditions. A level of service A or B indicates delays in the range of 9 to 10 seconds per vehicle on average. With the introduction of the site-generated traffic, the intersection will continue to operate at a level of service B during the morning peak hour, and will operate at a level of service B during the Saturday peak hour. And the average increase in delay is about 1 second per vehicle on average at that location. The intersection of Constance Lee Drive and the Constitution Square driveway and the two site driveways, all movements at both of those, all of those locations will operate at levels of service A or B during peak hours, meaning very minimal delays and very minimum queue lengths at those locations. Town staff asked about the projected queues on Constance Lee Drive at the signalized intersection. The calculations indicate that the maximum queue, 95th percentile queue, as we like to call it in the engineering world, is approximately, I just jumped around in my notes here for a second. It's calculated to be less than 100 feet. Actually, it's in the range of 86 feet during peak hours. The intersection of the Constitution Square driveway is about 130 feet from the stop bar at that location. So under the combined conditions, we've got an additional 50 feet to play with there. So it's unlikely that the traffic volumes after completion will back up and interfere with the operations at that location with this Dunkin' facility in place. And again, the projected queues on these Constitution Square driveway at Constance Lee Drive is in the range of 1 to 2 vehicles during peak hours. So again, the traffic should not back up and interfere with operations of the internal site driveways to this facility. In addition, we took a look at the queuing for the proposed restaurant itself. we did a standard Poisson queue distribution. We based that on the peak hour projection of 106 entering customers into the Dunkin' Donuts facility. Based on our experience with Dunkin' Donuts facilities and based on published data by Dunkin' Donuts, they project about 65% of the vehicles will utilize the drive-through window during the peak hour. And we use an average service time at the window of about 40 seconds per vehicle. Based on those factors, the expected queue would be about 3 to 3.5 vehicles during the peak hour. You'll have one at the window and 3 or 4 vehicles in line during most times. The average delay of a vehicle in the drive-through is about 131 seconds on average during that peak hour. And the probability that the queue would exceed 12 vehicles is about 2% during peak hours. Now, we've got an existing queuing lane of about 190 feet before you hit the internal intersection of the site, which is good enough for about 9 or 10 vehicles on average, which is one of the concerns town staff had in the original report, which is why we flipped the driveways. We wanted to make sure that we had enough queuing space that the vehicles could remain on site and not spill out of the driveway onto the Constitution Boulevard, Constitution Park driveway. So again, you've got our original report, you've got our November 16th, 2023 response, which basically provides some backup information in terms of the traffic volumes, the queuing analysis, the average delays and such. And those were submitted together with the original revised site plans, which have been revised to date through a number of back and forth with town staff. I think that's our presentation in a nutshell. I tried to be comprehensive but brief. If the commission has any specific questions related to traffic or the site plan, we'd be happy to entertain them at this time.
Yes, go ahead.
It appears as though all the entrance to the entire lot now is going to be in that one driveway all the way, what would that be, all the way west, correct? Has there been a discussion with the tenants in the next building over? So they're in agreement with that their customers all need to come in that way and they're okay with peak time 40 to 60 cars an hour that their customers could be backing into with everyone coming in that way?
Yes, I've had conversations with 2 out of the tenants and 1 I did not, but the 2, the Subway and Michael at State
Farm?
Auto, yeah, State Farm, they're fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, Michael says he gets 3 people like on an average day, and it's usually PM.
Mhm.
And the Subway is open for breakfast a little bit, but
Yeah, same peak times, yeah.
yeah, I've never seen more than 3 cars there.
Punch-wise,
so,
yeah. Okay, all right, because I'd be worried, obviously, somebody backing out while there's so much increased traffic coming in that has to now come past them.
Yeah, I think the way that, the original way probably would have been my preference, but the way that we did it now, I think to allow the extra queuing, where do we end up with queuing total? I think we can queue like
9, he said.
15 or 16.
No, we were 9 originally on the right side, but from the stop sign back, we can still queue like another.
The calculations indicate we don't expect more than 12 at any given time, but there's queuing space available for 15 or 16 vehicles. So
Okay, where would those additional cars go on this? Because I saw a really nice map for like tractor trailers, but not really for traffic flow for customers.
well, the vehicles the window is located on the north side of the restaurant where
Yes, sir.
the current drive-through is. You've got room to stack 9 or 10 vehicles around the building
Mhm.
until you get to the internal intersection about that point.
Right,
At that point, vehicles would have to go to the other side of the intersection. So there'd be perhaps 2 or 3 vehicles on the west side of the intersection during those occasional peak times when there's.
was making where could customers from the neighbors not be able to literally get out or in based on increased flow?
Well, yeah, the peak
Yeah.
times of this facility and the peak times of those other facilities are,
Thinking lunch,
yeah. they don't-
Subway and Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, I don't think we're too concerned about vehicle queues of 12 or 13 vehicles during lunch at the Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
That'll be a early morning when the other facilities typically aren't open. And even if they do have a customer, it would be seldom. So
Okay.
it shouldn't be
That
a
was the
major
biggest
concern.
concern as to how we addressed how we're looking out for the neighbors. Thank you.
Understood.
Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The south side of the building, the 7 parking spots, what are those designated for? Customers,
Those are employee spaces.
employees?
Yes.
Would it be marked as such?
Yes, you can see on the plan that there's signage on each one of those spaces. There's a black circle and a black line. Yep. And the notes, proposed employee parking only signs.
Because otherwise it's a nightmare. You get in, you're not getting out.
Yeah, we expect that those spaces will fill up before the peak hour and remain on, they will be very seldom changeover during peak hours. And then after the peak hours are gone and the queues have dissipated, perhaps someone may go home. So it allows them to back out and get out of there.
Again, the only way out is to back out and go through the drive-through.
They're going to back out and go through around the drive-through. Yes.
And I realize your drive-through is 8 to 10 probably, or 7:30 to 10, and I don't know what your peak hours are.
Peak business hours are basically 6:30 to 10:30, yeah.
6:30 to 10:30. And then does it pick up again in the afternoon after lunch, or not really?
No.
It's that morning.
I like the mornings.
Only drink coffee in the morning. I know it's crazy in the morning.
I know our calculations call for, what did you say, 115 cars an hour or something like that, but I mean,
Yeah, IT indicates for this size facility at this location, 106 customers.
yes, customers, yep.
Yeah, I wasn't fully aware until tonight, until I opened the packet, which came Friday. I didn't realize both buildings are on the same plot of land.
They are.
That obviously makes it a lot easier for you. Otherwise, it probably would be very difficult. But again, I think you've got a good use for the building. I really do. So I don't see anybody gonna be opposed to this, but we'll see where the public is and.
I have a quick question. I had asked the planner to contact Alan. I'm looking at the property line. It goes a foot into Constance Lee. Did you see this? If you look at the property line on the east side, you'll see it actually protrudes into the road. And if I remember correctly, when the town widened Constance Lee, they took some property here. And I went by there today and I noticed that there's a span pole for the signal on that. So it looks to me like the property line needs to be adjusted here. Because this is showing the sidewalk that's actually on Santana property. Okay.
Which corner are you talking about?
Yeah, the northeast corner.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when they did this, that the town did get some of the property. I think the state took some. And they brought that, the radii down, widened it for the heavier trucks going to the post office. And at that time, I think the market was still there.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that this is showing me a sidewalk that's a town sidewalk on private property, if I looked at this correctly.
Check with the current AP survey that was done.
There is an easement in favor of the state of Connecticut, which is shown across the site frontage. If you look at sheet 1 of 8, which is the survey, you've got the dark line, which is the right-of-way line, about 8 to 10 feet south of that. There's a dashed line, and it's labeled easement in favor of the state of Connecticut, which I assume is for the sidewalks, snow plowing,
Right.
installation of signage, and that bends around the corner to allow for the placement of the traffic signal equipment at that location as well. So it appears it was an easement, not a taking. But I'll let Brian add more to that if he can.
Yeah, well, Brian McClaney from the Bon Giovanni Group. Yeah, there are easements in favor of the state there. There's a town drainage right away, and there are grading rights there. I basically think that's the what it is. There is an easement in favor of the state there.
I guess my concern is that somebody walks or falls on that sidewalk, who gets sued?
Right.
That's my question. Normally, when the state takes property or gets an easement, they move the property line back. That's all I'm asking here, because this is very deceiving, to say the least. Okay. And if this is going to be an A2 survey, I would think it had to be, this has to be corrected one way or the other, my opinion.
Yeah, it may be like that. I mean, we'll look into it, but yeah.
I mean, there could be a number of reasons why it's an easement instead of a taking. Could make the lot non-conforming, in which case it's not something you'd want to give away. So there's any number of reasons why it could be, but it's not unusual that there would be easements and such instead of right of way. So
Just asking a question.
understood. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Paul?
So, Mr. Chairman, we have reviewed, the previous plans. As I kind of noted when the plan was handed out to the commission, we received it midday Monday. With workload, there hasn't, turned around that quick to do a site plan review for that. It was not available. And the commission also received the plan tonight. And the plan wasn't in the packet, for distribution to the public.
Okay.
So staff does need, time to review that plan. Right now, we don't have, we're not able to provide any additional comments or recommendations or anything as far as what was addressed. The applicant did provide a cover letter with staff comments that were addressed. But again, there hasn't been sufficient time receiving it midday Monday to do a review for Wednesday night. As far as staff's kind of concerns, the applicant did note that we worked with them for queuing. One of the major aspects to come out of that is the DOT's research that they did on specifically Dunkin' Donuts drive-throughs. It's a little more rare that one specific business gets studied, but they studied it for its impacts onto state highways. And what they found generally is 14 was kind of their standard number. That is on the site. The main things that staff would appreciate the commission asking the applicant is kind of, again, what's been brought up, that interior site circulation, how it works. We did ask the question regarding how it would work with Constance Lee Drive and the driveway to Constitution Square. Because really, when it comes to circulation, those are the primary concerns, is how it works on site and then how it impacts the ability to leave and exit. The change for the interior of the site does make a change as far as queuing, because the original queuing could have backed up and then that would essentially block the driveway. This has more chance that if it does reach that 14, it'll block interior site circulation, but at 14 cars, it would not block exterior site circulation and the town's parking lot. One item is I did speak with the fire marshal. He was reviewing the initial plans. Again, we just got these with a current new turning template. They do have some concerns. There's kind of a question to the new location of the dumpster pad. It does show a counterflow for picking up that, and they do note it's outside of normal business hours, but kind of holding to that, that's something that the applicant would of course have to try to hold their trash provider to do. But that is a potential counterflow type of operation. Again, as the applicant noted, originally the dumpster was on the corner of Constance Lee and the entrance to the driveway. It was a prominent location. There's a CLMP easement. There were some concerns with that location. Staff did provide the comment about the design of the dumpster itself. They're proposing a cedarwood dumpster. If you look at most of the ones in the town center right now, most actually dumpsters don't even have an enclosure. When you look at the town center design standards, it really does tell you to complement the buildings and work with the existing architecture. the approval and the record, it's within the purview of the commission as far as how the design goes. Staff did recommend that it might be an option to look at other options for dumpster enclosures that do more closely match the building or complement it, but a cedar wood fence might be okay to the commission. Another item is the signage. It was noted in the staff report that the signage proposed was internally lit. There actually is a lot of internally lit signage actually throughout. I kind of noticed some locations, but when you look at the design guidelines, I picked up one sentence in there where it actually discourages and says no internally lit signs. So we do have some nonconformities as far as the design guidelines go. I did speak with the applicant before the meeting, and he said he was amenable to keeping the gooseneck lighting and keeping similar signage that was on there for the bank previously. Again, these are kind of ideas for the, these are points for the commission to consider because this is within the design district. Again, there are minimal changes to the buildings. The primary change to the building is actually signage, and it will be the drive-through window itself. That'll have to be, slightly changed. It'll be a different drive-through window other than a bank one because that's not a pass-through, but it most likely will be in the similar area. They did provide some elevations of the buildings that were associated with the signage, which is the primary change, but the regulations do require elevations of the building. So that's an item for the commission to consider as well. Again, kind of as I noted, we have not had time to review the updated site plan yet, and the commission just received it tonight. Like that, Mr. Chairman, if you have any questions too, I've invited the town engineer here as well, Chris Video, who can answer any questions from staff or for staff.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd like to keep this open.
Yeah, let's go to the public.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and have the public come up. Anybody from the public wishing to testify or in favor of this? Your time, Jan.
Let me see. Where did I leave off? 6 to 10 cups of coffee. What? Right leg intervenes in my right leg. Don't tell my doctor. 6 to 10 cups of coffee a day. I think I was weaned on Maxwell House, I think a long time ago. Anyway, on my way over, I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts for I think this is probably my 6th or 7th, I lost count, coffee of the day. Okay. What? Excuse me, sir, what are you drinking?
Coffee.
What's the brand name?
The same.
The same. Good. Now we can be friends. Anyway, one thing I really don't like to see when I come down Cedar Mountain and I come down to the center of town, which is often throughout the week to do my errands, I see an empty building and it was that Sovereign Bank. And before that, it was a dry cleaners and they both didn't last. Dunkin' Donuts in that location is perfect for the center of town. It's going to last. And we know that. The fact that it has a drive-through, it would be the only place I can get coffee in the center of town that has a drive-through. It's a really cold, windy day. It's raining. It's a hot, hot day, whatever it is, the weather. And I don't want to get out of the car. There it is. I can go through a drive-through. Also, Subway is right next door. Subway sells a very nice Subway, but they don't sell coffee. So you have a nice combination of the two businesses. You get your Subway, you get your coffee, you go home. So I was just thinking that you really should put all your heads together and get all the fine points settled and approve this Dunkin' Donuts because I think it would be a big asset to the center of town and bottoms up.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
My name is Harold Kritzman. I'm her other half, living at 91 Tremont Street in Newington. We had a business in the center of town for approximately 13 years before opportunities prevailed themselves for us to move on to the Berlin Turnpike, where we retained a business there for well over 30 plus more years. One of the problems we had when we first moved into Newington Center was literally drawing people to come into Newington Center. We had a nature food shop, we had a bike shop, we had a gun shop, we had a coin shop. All of these were point of interest, which would draw people into the town. We had a problem with signage. They couldn't find Market Square. They said, where's the square? Well, obviously, it never really manifested itself the way it was intended to be, which was an enclosed shopping area. This would draw people into the town. This is a big thing. The town needs to flourish. It needs a way for people to find businesses within the town and to want to find it convenient to be in the town. This adds convenience. You add convenience, you give people a reason to come in. It's going to draw business to not only the Dunkin' Donuts, but the associated businesses in the town. So I am 100% for anything that brings business into the town of Newington. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Councilwoman Bedrejko.
I do have someone online when she's done as well, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Gail Bedrejko, 21 Bell Terrace. I'm 100%, in favor of this, and I will be utilizing a lot. But living in the Holly Street area, I will be utilizing it as a pedestrian for the most part. We've heard a lot of discussion about the drive-through and the traffic and the parking, whatever. But if I can just get a little bit more clarity on how the pedestrians will be accessing this building, particularly because I used to also be the Santander Bank, and there were those 4 parking spaces like right at the door, and then right across almost there was 4 parking spaces, and it was very difficult, either as a pedestrian or a driver, to get in and out. So again, and then the fact that there's the senior and disabled housing there, I'm sure those individuals will be utilizing it certainly as a pedestrian. Are there going to be like marked walkways or sidewalks? If I can just get some clarification on that, but I'm in favor of it 100%.
Thank you. Anyone online?
Yeah, 2 people online. Hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rose.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I too will be utilizing that Dunkin' Donut, but it will be by my car because I feel more comfortable in the car driving through, but I am glad that Gail happened to mention the pedestrians. I hadn't even thought about that. The one thing I didn't catch, and you probably addressed it, but if you could once again tell me about the entrance and exit onto Constance Lee Drive. I know when the municipal parking lot was revamped that they tried to widen that entrance exit area and they could not. It's pretty difficult if you have a standard sized car going out and an SUV coming in to navigate that area. So if you could just let me know what your plans are for that. I don't think you can widen it, but I hope that you're going to figure out a way that it'll be easy in and easy out for everyone. Other than that, I have no questions. I wish you well and look forward to the building having its drive-through.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Fox.
Okay. Oh, that's better. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. Michael J. Fox, 1901 Main Street. And I think what I'm going to do is echo Gail and Rose Lyons. It might be a little tight with the drive-through ramps over here, but I think people get used. I'm sure you can figure that out. I mean, here we have a well-known businessman in town who wants to continue doing business in the center, and so he's expanding his possibilities. So I am definitely in favor of this. We did work quite a while on changing the regulations for to allow this kind of restaurant. So good luck, Carrie, and be well. I'm in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Eric?
Nobody else online, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Anyone wishing to speak against it? Seeing none, you please come back up and address Rose, Ms. Lyons' question, please.
Okay, in terms of pedestrian access,
Please announce who you are again.
yes, certainly. Again, Scott Hesketh for the record. First off, in terms of off-site pedestrian access, the intersection of East Cedar Street and Constance Lee Drive has a signalized intersection. It has a pedestrian crossing, which is should all stop. When the pedestrian crosses, everyone stops and the pedestrians are allowed to cross. There's a countdown signal there at that location. When we were out there doing our traffic volume counts, I think there were 2 or 3 pedestrians which utilized the intersection, pushed the button. They were able to cross very safely. There are concrete sidewalks fronting both East Cedar Street, Constance Lee Drive, and the driveway to the parking lot. So people can get to the facility, and if they wish to enter, they can walk up the exit driveway, or if they cross over to the grassed area, they can walk through the parking lot. There are concrete sidewalks in front of the Dunkin' Donuts Dunkin' building, concrete sidewalks along the other retail building. And one of those concrete sidewalks does extend out to intersect with East Cedar Street. So if someone is walking up and down East Cedar Street, they can enter the property directly from that location and cross the parking lot to access the entrance to the Dunkin' facility. So there's ample opportunities for people to access the site via sidewalks and the pedestrian crossing at the intersection. In terms of the design of the intersection of Curtis Lee Drive and the Constitution driveway, we're not proposing any improvements to that location. I don't have the width of the driveway in front of me, but it is a single entering and exiting lane. It's stop sign controlled. During our counts, we didn't notice any particular difficulties of people either entering or exiting the intersection. The traffic volumes were relatively low during our counts. They'll be slightly higher with this facility in place, but we don't see any particular difficulty with those maneuvers as long as people stop at the stop bar where they're supposed to. I suppose if you creep out into the intersection, it always makes it difficult for anyone to enter or exit, but we're not proposing any improvements exterior to the site as part of this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Woods.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking at your plan right up there on the exit coming out, you have 2 trees. And, oh, I'm sorry.
The eastern one.
Yeah, there, right there.
Eastern half, yeah.
Is there any possibility you could run a sidewalk on the right-hand side of the driveway next to the tree, right up there? Only that allows people not having to walk through the driveway itself when cars are trying to exit. That would at least get them closer to the building, not have to worry about dealing with cars.
I understand what you're asking. I don't, if we can still, again, Kerry Gagnon, sorry, if we can still qualify with the greenage and the parking spaces, I'm not opposed to, I mean, it's striped off right now, but I mean, I'm not opposed to going into that island if, try to get a sidewalk a little closer. As long as we meet all the criterias.
We're pretty close on the.
Yeah, we are close. Yeah, it might kick us out of the ballpark.
So, Mr. Chairman, just for point of information, if I may.
Yes.
So there is in the Town Center Village Overlay District where this property resides. There's a special provision, because I know the applicant is pretty much at their parking number right now. There is a special provision that says properties which meets the requirement of the Town Center Village Overlay Design Standards would be eligible to use the following incentives to facilitate their improvements subject to the approval of the commission. So item B, new construction and substantially improved buildings which abut the municipal parking lot and provide access and pedestrian sidewalk from the lot may not be required to provide additional new parking and may be permitted to share the existing municipal lot parking. So there is a provision. Again, there's kind of like a mixture of property lines, but this property abuts the parking lot. So there is an opportunity to use that, and we did have initial discussions with the applicant, and it is kind of noted in the staff report too that you encourage to looking for an additional pedestrian access to the site.
Does that answer your question, Peter?
Well, still thinking that we should have another continuing sidewalk up into the property where that exit out of your property is going to be. Again, just to keep people from having to walk in the driveway when cars are trying to exit.
Understood. I get the feeling we're going over to another meeting because staff hasn't had a chance to fully vet the plan. So in the intervening time, we will take a look at that. And if it works with the percentage of green space, the grading works out to be ADA compliant, we'll certainly take a look at that and see if we can't accommodate you.
Or delete the tree.
Carrie, we spent most of the night, I guess it's our fault that we're talking about the drive-through. I guess walk us through the experience, somebody either walking up to your restaurant or driving into and parking in a parking spot and walking. Because there's also, this is not just a drive-through restaurant. This is also a walk-in restaurant, right? Like most of your restaurants are. You have a drive-through window and then you still have a station inside where people can get it. And I think people want to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do between 62 to, I have a store that's doing 88% drive-through because it just has 5 parking spaces and my employees park at the restaurant next door in Berlin. So that's an arrangement we have. And I'll tell you, it works out good, but the speed of service at that drive-through is still like it's 38 or 40 seconds. So it's difficult, but so the people that really want to come in and park, there's ample parking here in the front, and then over here where the subway is, I never see a car there at all.
The parking is a concern. I want you to tell me you have a front door. They can walk through the front door. They can walk up to the cash register. They can order just like they do it. That's what they need to hear. We didn't really talk about that.
Operational wise, yeah. So we're gonna do exactly that. I mean, every one of my stores in town, except for the one on Main Street, has a drive-through, and the one on Cedar Street, not East Cedar Street, but the one down further, near the development of the apartments that they're building. That one is extremely busy, and coming in and out of there, if you're traveling east towards Hartford, is just so difficult to take a left and then pull out of there. So this will ease the pain there, transfer those customers up to this area. And of course, we're going to put in tables and chairs and a front counter where people can come in and a place for them to sit. I mean, all of my locations, basically, except for 2 of them, have drive-throughs. And without a drive-through today, I guess everybody knows what that's like. So,
Paul, I believe our regulations require that, correct? With the drive-through, when we were talking about this months ago, we also, in those regulations, we have to have a walk-up restaurant. We have to be able to get inside.
They have submitted a floor plan showing 12 seats in discussions with the applicant.
And again, I know you're doing this. This is just for the people at home that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't address the Yeah, we are.
seating inside, and we're gonna have front counter to walk up to, and the only thing we're gonna have different here is an additional drive-through.
Again, I go to your restaurants all the time, so I know drive-through, the drive-through is where the people are.
And I'd like to add, and that, you know, in conversations with the applicant and comments that were given to the applicant, it was kind of encouraged that anything can be done to, you know, right now, the interior layout that's provided is very schematic. It's 12 chairs, 4 tables, and the counter. And we encouraged the applicant to look at anything they can do to improve, to kind of highlight that interior, because it is in an area of town where it very well could receive a lot of people walking to it. So anything to enhance it, to make it, you know, that third place, that community place, would be something that's appreciated, and that was communicated to the applicant.
I mean, if I could take this one step further, and I'm not trying to complicate the whole thing, but if there's ample parking and there's possible exceptions for maybe, you know, losing a parking space here and there, could they also put in tables outside? I mean, this is one of the things we're talking about here with the, you know, the town center overlay is the feel of Newington. And while I appreciate the opportunities for the business, and I think that's great, I don't think we only want to think about bringing more cars into Newington that are just going to drive and leave. We want people to come. We want people to stay. We want that feel. And I'm a walker. And I appreciate what Gail mentioned earlier. Her comment was really right on there too. So I'd like to just, you know, put that out there if that's something that they could consider, or if that's feasible, or if that wouldn't work with their existing, you know, situation.
If I may, I would absolutely entertain outside tables, outside seating. If you haven't realized, all my restaurants have outside seating. So I'm a big fan. If I can do it and meet the criteria, then I would absolutely entertain it.
That would be all in lieu of the parking standards being modified with the parking in the municipal lot.
Yeah, it would be, it's that clause that I read in there, you know, again, it's subject to the approval of the commission, that if it's substantially improved, they may not be required to add new spaces. And it's going from a bank to a restaurant, which has a higher count requirement for parking. So I think there might be some work in the differential there, that if outdoor seating was provided and the commission was amenable to giving that approval to utilize that, not requiring new spaces, again, that is contingent on that sidewalk connection. So having that sidewalk connection in addition to that outdoor space, you know, from a off the cuff staff view, yeah, substantial improvement is adding outdoor dining. It is enhancing that. You know, I would very well consider that a substantial improvement to the property.
So I think you heard it. If you could do it.
I'd love to. Great ask, because I encourage it.
I mean, it may be something that would also, you know, being potential owner of the entire plaza may enhance Subway as well. It's a shared space.
Take a look at it.
Yeah.
During when drive was discussed, it was discussed also the opportunity for walk-up windows as well, for people walking there. So again, if all that kind of, these ideas that are coming up tonight, if all that works together, I think it could work together as a good package for something that's enhanced.
Yeah, outside seating, I really know if we can give up parking, we can make it happen. Walk-up window, I can't figure out how it would work in this situation because of the drive-through traffic. And I know of a couple of restaurants that did that, and they have a drive-through lane, and then the person has to get out and walk through the drive-through lane to get to steer. That's as scary as what you brought up earlier.
I know I stopped there tonight to get coffee on the way over.
Yeah.
It was tough backing out to go around.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that we table and continue the public hearing for petition 27-23. There's a second. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the cannabis one, right? Yeah, I lost my agenda. That was a great idea. Thank you. That was a great idea. Yeah. Sidewalks. Yeah.
All right, so the next petition is petition 2923, special permit section 6.16 for a cannabis hybrid retailer at 2661 Berlin Turnpike, AKA 2657, 2661 Berlin Turnpike in the BT zone. Applicant Chillax LLC, owner 2661 Berlin Turnpike, Associates LLC, contact Michelle Bowden. And I believe Ms. Bowden is online. And unfortunately, there was a scheduling conflict with Mr. Silverman, who would normally be presenting tonight. So Michelle will be presenting for you online.
Hi, all. If you're able to hear me, Phil actually was able to join remotely. I believe he is in the waiting area. If there was a way to promote him.
I just did.
Thank you.
Should be coming over. Here he is.
Great. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So again, I'm Phil Silverman here with Michelle Bodian from my office. And Michelle is our Connecticut licensing expert. So she'll be answering any questions you might have about that. And again, I know I met with you several weeks ago, been looking forward to this hearing tonight. Here seeking the approval of the special permit to operate the hybrid marijuana establishment at 2661 Berlin Turnpike. Again, this is the business Berlin Turnpike zoning district, which is appropriate for the use. Square foot space. It was formerly a Pier 1 import store. And as I'm sure you're aware, the area has substantial retail, food service, and other office types of uses as well. Operating hours would be 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., which fits within your zoning. Maybe Michelle, before we go too much further, if you could just give a quick explanation. The commission was interested to know last time I was here where we were in the state licensing process. I wasn't able to give that information, so if you could walk through them, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle Bodian, for the record, 800 Boylston Street, Boston, Mass. So Chillax does have a hybrid retail provisional license. They were a social equity lottery win when the state ran their cannabis lottery licensing process. So essentially, they're at starting point 0 for their build out, obviously waiting first for your all decision here today. And then they do have, the state of Connecticut did extend all the deadlines. So they have until February 2025, up until that point, to achieve complete build out and final license. But right now they're just at that provisional stage. Next steps after here, if they're successful in being able to move forward with this property, starting the process on build out and interaction with the state officials. As you might be familiar, the state of Connecticut requires Department of Consumer Protection 5 inspections along the way throughout the build out process. So working hand in hand with an assigned agent, making sure the floor plan meets all the security requirements and everything that the state requires.
Great, thank you. So it looks like Paul has anticipated the next section I want to talk about, which is the site plan. Just so we're clear, as sort of an introductory matter, the property does meet all of the buffer requirements of your zoning. It's not within 1,000 feet of schools, churches, playgrounds, parks, and the other sensitive uses that are mentioned in your zoning. So just looking at the site, access and egress through 2 existing curb cuts, and there'll be no change to those curb cuts. So site, you're not going to see, any substantial changes to the site. It's a solid site for this type of use. The only thing that you might notice are some security cameras that will be put up around, which again is in accordance with state regulations, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. Also, we'll be revitalizing and maintaining the existing landscaping. You can see there's ample parking here at the property. I know there's been some questions from your department heads about the pavement markings and whether that exactly is in conformance with the 269 spaces. We're happy to work that out with you. Key thing here again, substantial parking for the type of use. So there's 48 spaces required, and we will exceed that by well over 200 spaces. Loading is through a rear door with a secure shipping area in the building. And just, another piece that's important, trash goes in an enclosed dumpster area, which is locked at all times. That's non-marijuana trash. If there's marijuana waste, it goes back to the facility from which we purchased this. In terms of the remainder, I don't know, Paul, if you can pull up the floor plan. This is all going to seem pretty familiar to you in the sense that like every other retailer, I know you've, approved 2 already, but there's an entry vestibule. We gotta go into that. 11 point of sale positions, and again, just so we're all clear, this is limited access. You have to be 21 years of age or older to get into this facility. Then in terms of traffic, at the facility, we presented a traffic impact statement, and it shows an increase in traffic from the prior Pier 1 use. I'm always skeptical about these things, and I sort of want to bring this to the attention because this is the same thing. I do a lot of work up in Massachusetts, and we have the same. The traffic studies that do this look at sort of the recent past in Connecticut, and they did this in Massachusetts, and they were predicting, peak traffic at one of these facilities at 200, 300 vehicles at peak hour. That may have been true at the beginning in Massachusetts, but eventually when you fill out the number of retailers you're going to have in the state, it goes way down. It goes down to something more along the lines of, if you had 100 vehicles a day at peak, that would be very unusual. And once the other retailers right now, there is an increase. It looks like about 101 more trips on the Saturday midday period and 59 on the weekday afternoon peak period. I think it'll probably be below the prior use within a year or two, if I had to guess, and it sort of follows with how other states have done this. In terms of security, again, I don't want to belabor this type of a point because you've seen this in all of the other retailers you've done, and it's all in accordance with state mandates. You've got cameras on the interior, exterior. The exterior cameras have a 360-degree view. We can see everybody coming and going. And in the interior, anywhere marijuana is handled or stored, we've got cameras. So we have that ability to know exactly what's going on in the store. Perimeter alarms on the doors and windows, panic and duress alarms scattered throughout in strategic places. And we've got on-site security personnel during business hours, and it's monitored 24/7 during non-business hours. I'll just mention, one other thing. I think it's important. There's always a concern about odor with these facilities. That's generally not an issue with a retail facility because we're just dealing with packaged products, and we do have pressurized HVAC systems and filtration, and so that would presumably take care of it in the retail setting. So that's really just sort of the brief presentation, but Michelle and I are happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Paul, is there a regulation, there are regulations, how far away do we have to be from a residential area?
So it's a regulation away from a residentially zoned, and that's actually for a cultivator. There's no specific regulation that actually says that the sales location, a retail. However, it does say retail cannot be located in the same building as residential, which it is not in this case. The main ones as far as distances, again, are for production. And that's obviously production has a higher impact, a lot more smell. So yeah, and there is no residence located in this building.
Because I know I've heard from several people in the Churchill Bridge area that they're not happy with, they have enough problems up there now. They were concerned with this. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris.
Paul, do you happen to know what the distance is to Churchill from there as a crow flies directly through Churchill Bridge? It's got to get pretty close.
I know it is.
Also playgrounds.
Yeah, we sent it to the condo as an abutter, so it is a budding property.
All right. Do they have
Bring up a GIS and show too?
I believe there are playgrounds within that property as well as crossing over Main Street. I'd like to know what the distance is to Churchill Park.
Probably about the same as the old Bonefish Grill, which is 2,300 feet is what you have here, right?
Yeah, but going directly through the property though? Straight
Going
through?
through the property, because that's pretty deep. Churchill Bridge, it goes back quite a ways. It could be a little bit less, but.
And it's in the separation requirements, section 6.16.4. So it talks about no medical marijuana production or adult use cannabis cultivator or micro cultivator, all growing facilities shall be allowed with 100 feet of a church, temple, or other place used primarily for religious worship, public building, private recreation, or school, playground, park, or daycare facility. So again, that's 3 cultivation uses. The other one is no medical marijuana production facility or adult use cannabis cultivator or micro cultivator facility shall be allowed on a site that is less than 100 feet from any property that is zoned for single family residential use as a permitted use. Again, it cites medical marijuana production facility, adult use cannabis cultivator, or micro cultivator. Again, no medical marijuana dispensary facility or production facility or adult use cannabis retailer, hybrid retailer, cultivator, or micro cultivator facility shall be allowed within the same building, structure, or portion thereof that is used for residential purposes or that contains another medical marijuana dispensary, production facility, or adult use cannabis, hybrid retail, micro cultivator. So that actually says within the same building. The other one is no adult use cannabis retail or hybrid retail shall be located less than 500 feet from another adult use cannabis retail, hybrid retail, or hybrid retail, and distance is measured from the radius from the front door of each establishment. And so and then it says all distance in this section are measured, taken to the nearest straight line between the respective lot boundaries, except for subsection D, which is the 500 feet from door to door. So a lot of our distance regulations from residential, again, it's for production facilities. That is something we did look at. And this application staff reviewed, and it was located approximately 2,300 feet and 4,800 feet respectively from the other hybrid locations.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of in the middle between the two existing.
The one distance I'd be curious to though is the park, Churchill Park, going straight through.
Churchill Park, straight through.
Yeah, so there is a buffer area in between the two, a naturally vegetated area.
Do you have Google Earth Pro? You can measure right now.
Bring it up.
I have a question while you're looking at that, Paul.
Mhm.
Going back to our first public hearing tonight, 28-23 on the childcare, what does it do? Now that you can have a childcare in any house, what does that makes it a little bit difficult for these kind of things, no?
So as far as it would be similar, this is more akin as far as looking at, it's a liquor store, is what they've really, the regulations are very similar. They're a little more stringent now, of course, on cannabis. It's a new industry, but they require similar type of distances, similar type of that they've been looked at. As far as that, so if this was located within a neighborhood, it could be a little different. And I think the applicant can maybe speak towards clientele and how these operations typically run. As far as staff has viewed it, the two locations that we've seen operated, we haven't seen many issues associated with them. For example, the Zen Leaf location opened with very little fanfare. And I've actually only seen a couple cars out of there, no one milling around.
I go by it every day 4 or 5 times. There's tops 5, 6 cars there, maybe on a Saturday, 10.
Yeah, people tend to just go in, pick up their product and leave is what we've kind of seen.
I guess it's all done, you have to pre-order, so it all has to be done online. You come in with your ID and your money, and then you leave.
If you look up, right, property line from the back of the Pier 1 property is about 1,400 feet through Churchill to the park.
Now, and I don't know if this is pertinent or not, well, I believe there's also a playground in Churchill Park. Does that qualify with the distance regs?
Again, that's
Or
for
is it a
production only.
public park?
Yeah, from our distance regulations, we don't have a specific distance regulation for sales.
Okay, just production.
Again, it just can't be located. So if this was a mixed use development that had an apartment as part of it, then the answer would be no. You can open below, if it was that real mixed use but those are all, as we read through them, again, it talks about production facilities over and over and over rather than retail sales.
Any other questions? Yes, what are we gonna, I guess this would be more to that, what are you doing on the outside of the building? Is the outside of the facade changing at all? We don't have any plans. Is it staying the same? You address the landscaping, speaker actually said he was gonna make some changes, but in here it says basically no changes in landscape are proposed, only maintenance. Now, I don't know what there is to maintain there, if there's nothing there to speak of. It's pretty unsightly.
Yep,
looking site.
From the staff perspective, when we wrote the memo, the maintenance really is, so it differentiates maintenance and they're gonna spruce it up, replace dead plants. Maintenance for us is the replanting of what's supposed to be per the original plan, sprucing those up. They're not planning on doing any major changes to the entire landscape. But for us,
So if
maintenance
an
is
existing island is planted, they will bring it back to what it was supposed to be, or as close as they can to the site plan.
do that. But yeah, that's, from our reading and discussion with them reading their
And I get the whole front of the building is all over concrete, so you can't do any plants, there's no green space there, I understand that, but it's a pretty sad.
I don't think those islands actually have any
Yeah,
plantings.
I think they do, some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Some of them do, some of them
Yeah.
in rough shape.
So.
Say they have plantings in those islands.
So maybe we
That-
can get to address that. I'm sorry? Well, let's ask the applicant to address that.
So again, we'd have to take a look at what was intended there. And the idea is to bring this back to life, because I understand it has not been tended to recently. So, we'll bring it back to life and then we'll maintain it as it's supposed to be. This is an operator who, has done this in some other locations across the country. They don't want to have a site that isn't attractive. It just doesn't serve them well to do that. So, I'm hearing some concern, that this needs to be spruced up. That's clearly my client's intention, is to make this an attractive place for customers to come and medical patients.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Do beforehand.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody for this sorry.
Oh, just if I may, while we still are in that, I just wanted to add, in the staff report, there were some suggested conditions. Staff has had more of suggested conditions when looking at these past applications. If you do not mind, I would like to read them in, and that way it would give the applicant a chance to respond to them while the public hearing is open. So again, it's the standard ones at the start, or contained in the report, that the applicant shall obtain all required permits and approvals, building, health, etc. The applicant shall revise the site plan to make the parking table agree with the plan. The final design of the odor control system shall be submitted to the town for review and approval. And then the new ones are: building signage is not approved as part of this application. Signage will require a review and approval by town staff. This approval shall not be finalized and effective until the applicant has provided the town planner's office with a copy of an issued hybrid retailer cannabis license from the Department of Consumer Protection. 6, unless otherwise extended in accordance with section 6.16.9C, this approval shall expire after 6 months if the applicant fails to provide a copy of an issued hybrid retailer license from the State of Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. 7, the applicant shall provide a copy of any license renewal to the town planner's office within 30 days of such renewal being granted. And 8, a copy of this special permit shall be filed in the town clerk's office, along with a copy of the state-issued hybrid retail establishment license within 90 days of the issuance of the final license from the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. Again, these are actually conditions that were placed on Zenleaf. They've been similar ones that have been carried through on hybrid retailers.
So if I can just ask you to repeat one, because I want to make sure with Michelle, is one of those, I think it's 6 months to get that license. Is that what you're suggesting?
Correct. That's actually per our regulations, 6 months. However, it can be extended by the town planner.
Okay. Michelle, is that an issue or?
While we're asking clarification questions, is that referring to the provisional license or the final license?
Typically, what it has been, it's a provisional license that is dedicated to the site. So there has to be some corroborating and evidence that it is dedicated, because provisional licenses right now we know are kind of out there. People have some provisionals that haven't dedicated a spot yet, because it's that chicken and the egg that's happened with the state system. But yes, and what I can say is that's within 6 months, and I believe it could be extended another 6 months by the town planner.
Okay, but looking to see the address associated with the license and some type of DCP filing. Just want to make sure I
Yes.
understand that. Okay.
Okay.
And again, those are specific from 6.1, 6.9 conditional approval. Again, the conditional approval shall expire if the applicant fails to provide the town planner with a copy within 6 months of the date of the TPZ's conditional approval, and in a 6 months extension of such conditional approval shall be granted to the applicant upon written notification to the town planner that an application for a DCP licensing has been filed, indicating the expected decision date of the Department of Consumer Protection license. So again, it's pretty much 1 year, 6 months. If after sometime before that 6 months, if there's something in the hang up with the licensure, you just have to provide, a notice to me regarding that you filed the license, the application for the license, and it shall be extended another 6 months.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, what's the commission's pleasure?
For, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody for the application?
There's no one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody against the application?
No one again. Hold on. No.
Make a motion.
Yeah, make a motion that we close petition 29-23 to old business for possible action.
Second. Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Alrighty.
That should be approval of the minutes from 28 November.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for November 8th, 2023 as written, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Any new business to come before the commission? None? Okay. Old business.
Okay, so the first item is the petition 2823, the zoning regulation text amendment pertaining to family child care homes and group child care homes as a permitted use accessory to a residence in a zone permitting either single, two-family, or multifamily uses.
So I'll make a motion that we approve of petition 28-23.
Is there a second?
So let me keep going.
Yep.
28. Zoning regulation text amendment pertaining to the family, you already read that.
Yep.
I'll let me read the whole thing again. Zoning regulation text amendment pertaining to the family child care homes and group child care homes as a permitted use accessory to a residence in a zone permitting either single, two-family, or multifamily uses. And we're going to add section 3.1.5, and we amended section 3.2/8, and we removed and added section 9.2 definition. Applicant Newington TPC, contact Paul Dickerson. Move to approve petition 2823 for a text amendment pertaining to family and group child care homes with an effective date of December 28th, 2024.
2023. Yeah, that's the typo.
Okay.
Effective.
23. Reason for approval, the text amendment complies with the recent changes to the state statutes.
Second. Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next one is
So
the restaurant on the side.
which is tabled.
Okay, we've tabled petition 2723. Next is petition 2923.
Gina, you want that one?
Sure. Petition 2923, special permit, section 6.16 for a cannabis hybrid retailer at 2661 Berlin Turnpike, AKA 2657 through 2661 Berlin Turnpike in the BBT zone, Business Berlin Turnpike zone. Applicant Chillax LLC, owner 2661 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC. Contact Michelle Bodian Esquire. Motion to approve with conditions. Move to approve petition 2923 for a special permit for a cannabis hybrid retailer at 2661 Berlin Turnpike with the following conditions. 1, that the applicant shall obtain all required permits and approval, building, health, etc. 2, that the applicant shall revise the site plan to make the parking table agree with the plan. 3, the final design of the odor control system shall be submitted to the town for review and approval. 4, building signage is not approved as part of this application. Signage will require review and approval by town staff. 5, this approval shall not be finalized and effective until the applicant has provided the town planner's office with a copy of an issued hybrid retailer cannabis license from the Department of Consumer Protection. 6, unless otherwise extended in accordance with section 6.16.9C, this approval shall expire after 6 months if the applicant fails to provide a copy of an issued hybrid retailer license from the State of Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. 7, the applicant shall provide a copy of any license renewal to the town planner's office within 30 days of such renewal being granted. And 8, a copy of this special permit shall be filed in the town clerk's office along with a copy of the state-issued hybrid retailer establishment license within 90 days of the issuance of a final license from the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. Reason for approval, the proposed application meets the criteria of the town of Newington zoning regulations.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
May I ask who was the second?
Alan Davis.
Thank you.
Mr. Planner, petitions for scheduling?
So there is, keep going through. So the item that was not on this meeting, the Deming Street. Yep, to convert a pre-1920 single-family residential dwelling at 202 Deming Street into 2 units. The applicant has consented to an extension. They did not have the required kind of plans in. We received a floor plan on Monday, so we're reviewing that with them. They do plan on being at the next meeting, and they actually were in our office today as we started to review some of it with them. So I think that's progressing and should be on the next meeting.
Is this the one that's in a PD zone?
No. So
Okay.
this one, yeah, this one is in the R20. It's a little bit further down the street, but it is.
Corner Candlewick and Devon.
Okay. Thank you. Town planner report?
Okay, so there are the current land use applications. The one thing to note on the current applications that the BOF did submit their biennial update. Just a reminder for the commission, what that is it's not a site plan application. It's what they submit every 2 years. That is a update that shows what work has been done on site, and it's an update that says what they're going to be doing for the next 2 years. And then they do it every 2 years as part of the process. Again, it's not, an application for doing anything new. It just is, okay, we excavated this portion in the past, what we're looking to do, and they'll provide you with a overall summary of, continuing with their operations. The town engineer and I did go to the site on the 28th of November to kind of look at it since we were both new to the town. So that will be on the next meeting agendas. Again, it will be on the commission's agenda for basically accepting it. So it's not a site plan approval, it's just accepting it in because they're required to submit it every 2 years. It's part of the agreement with the town from 1989 that, why they got original approval, that they just continue to accept it so the town gets a progress update on everything that's happened. And then from there, if you want to go to the next. So I plan on reporting more at the next meeting. I figured this one might be a little longer with the public hearings and actually going around, since there are new commission members, showing again what I've done periodically is photos of the site, updating what's going on, progress, expected timetables. I know that those viewing, watching along, and those who watch the videos afterwards actually do appreciate that. So I'll continue to do that. The one item I'd like to bring up is 3333 Berlin Turnpike. They are continuing at pace. They were paving, we are actually there meeting on site with them for a progress meeting today. They're continuing working on the site. They're working on trying to get final pavement in a lot of the areas. There are some areas that are were delayed from DOT work, and actually the DOT had to work on their stormwater basin, which kind of backed up too. And I think there was more MDC work that kind of backed behind that. So it's kind of slowed down some of the work on the front of the site. So we can see that's just the parking lot being paved in front of, that's actually in front of the grocery store. You can go to the next photo. Again, live action photo of paving. You have building A and B behind, building C to the right of the photo, and then building D would be behind that. And that's building D right there. So that's going to be the future home of Kava. And go to the next photo. And we also took a quick tour of some of the units. Again, this is in building 1. This is just an example, I believe, of one of the 1-bedrooms that's there. This is that living room, dining combo area. And you can just kind of see the progress that's being made. This is the building that's the furthest along. It is building 1. But they are working on that, and they'll be working on binder course. And actually, if you could go to the application folder. I mean, the hearing, the TPZ folder for this meeting. And go to the bottom. Or look for 3333. Yep. I should actually probably, sorry, to take over from you.
Yeah.
Sorry. There you go. So I did want to, so they actually shared this with me today. So this is, fresh off the press. So what they've done is, and I'm kind of bringing this to your attention because they're probably going to be looking for bonding for the site sometime soon. So I may be discussing with the commission kind of what items are left undone, and we'll kind of work through that process. But the first thing I'd like to highlight is every area that's kind of like bluish purple that you see on your screen. That's the area that's planned to have the main parking area, the top coat, line striping, full signage done between 12/8 and 12/15. That was kind of the work that you saw going on. The second item is actually the driveway, which is going to be the binder only, and then top coat coming in April. They're working with the state right now on the access. It might not be able to be cut through this season. They're looking at potential right in, right out for potential opening, but this is something that will go through the process. Once we know more, I'll share it with the commission, because again, it is a slight change to the plan, but the plan is ultimately at the end of the day to build what was approved. But there are these interim steps that happen with construction seasons and with the work to be done. The second plan area, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, this area will be left incomplete until February and March. There's a dumpster pad in that area that's going to be used as a covered soil stockpile over the winter. And you'll have these buildings. So Shake Shack, and they shared these with me, and I asked them, and they said it was okay to share with you. They're targeting March 1st. You have the other area here, which is kind of in flux. So the binder, the top coat April, if they can get it done, they would like to get the top coat done in this area. But that's where you have Crumble Cookies and PJ's Coffee. So, they're starting to lease up these spaces. The dumpster enclosure, January, February will be done. So they'll have that available for them. And then Kava in the corner, they're looking at June. So, as this process goes, I just kind of want to update the commission on the work that's being done, kind of the timeframes expected, and to kind of give a heads up to that depending on how much work is done. The most important thing for any site opening to the public is accessibility, making sure all the ADA is accessed there, and making sure it's generally safe to circulate. They'll be providing us as-built. We'll see what work is incomplete and then work with them on bonding that work. So that's my report to that. And my plan for the next meeting is to kind of put together a primer because there are new members on the commission. There is a public act that requires training. I know many people have already gone to it prior to even getting seated on the board, and I appreciate that. But I'll kind of put together what's coming up, because after the holidays, I can see them potentially putting more items up there. And it's something that I will keep updating the commission on, discussing with those who need it for requirements, and then discussing opportunities that are out there as well.
Paul, quick question. You are going to keep track of who goes? And
yes. Yeah.
Because I just attended the housing one, was it Monday? And I don't know if they're going to issue a certificate or not for that, but I do have the other two, and I'll drop them off sometime this week or next week.
So I would request that anyone who has gone to any trainings, either if they didn't provide a certificate, if you have something that says you're registered to go and you have that email and you basically say, yes, I went to this, certify that you went to write on it. I went to this thing, submit it to me. If they do have a certificate, great. But it is up to the towns to actually keep track of their certification and that level.
I know the first two I went to, Renata did, and it was very enlightening. One of the things that when I was on a commission before, I had said that this commission did not have the authority to override a Superior Court judge's decision, but I was overruled, and not once, twice, but 3 times. So I was surprised when she said that she agreed with me on that. And the other thing, she also agreed with that all sides should have equal time. You can't have one side weighted more than the other. And I'd like to address that, make sure that that goes out. All right, thank you. Frog letters, we all set?
Yep, those are in your packets for review. As you'll see, we're not the only ones doing the family childcare and group childcare. There's multiples in there, and they've been really, as people are getting it done before the end of the year.
Right.
It's good we're compliant now.
Okay, public participation, anybody on?
Yeah, we got. Yes, we have some. Go ahead, Rose.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I understand there's no back and forth at this particular time, but I would, at the next meeting, like to know whether or not the town knows, and if not, when they might know what is going in as a grocery store at 3333 Berlin Turnpike. I'm really tired of looking at all the guesses on Facebook, so if anybody can come up with any concrete answers, I'd appreciate it. And I just want to thank you all. Do you have another meeting before the end of the year? Or before the holidays? If not, I don't think so. I'd like to wish you all a happy and healthy holiday and very healthy new year. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Rose. Anybody else, Eric?
There's no one else online,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner remarks?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of remarks. Number one, I'd like to put together, I was hoping Mr. Payne and Mr. Claffey were here. I'd like to have a small committee put together to look at all of the stuff that had been occurred over the last couple of years where they've decided that they could override the Superior Court decision. I'd like that said. I'd like to know if you can give me a copy of that decision, not the full thing, but an abbreviated one, Paul, to make sure everybody in here understands that you cannot override a Superior Court decision. Okay? That's been done several times. The second thing that I'd like to address, and I got that the other day, was a complaint that was filed in 2022. And it was from Mr. Jeff Zellick. And it had to do with the guy with the petition 12-22. Special permit for open space subdivision 359 Church Street and 321 Tremont Street, without Wetlands Commission having rendered a decision. It violated Connecticut General Statute 124, Section 8-3 G1, violation of Connecticut Newington Subdivision Regulations, Section 7.2, and violation of Newington TPZ zoning regulations 6.3.5. I'd like to know if anybody had ever seen this. Okay, I'll leave this copy with you. I'd like to find out what happened to it. Okay, because what I did notice in the years that I've been off is that this commission passes stuff and then waits for wetlands to give a decision. When I was on before, it was the other way around. We had to get the wetlands approval first, then this. And I'd like to keep in the same order if possible. Also, like I said, this is my first time back in 2 years, and I'm a little rusty, so you got to kind of forgive me, but I will catch on. Hearing nothing else, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Thank you. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
You're right, so we don't sit there. Yeah.